Okay guys, welcome back to my channel here, and I'm back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about what needs to happen for the Ottawa Senators to make the playoffs in this really tough Canadian division. As we all know, the Sens have been just pegged that their destiny is to finish dead last, 7th in the Canadian division out of 7 teams. I mean, I kind of half agree with that at times just because they're so young, even though they have so much talent, the Sens, but they are very young, as I mentioned. So that could potentially play into them finishing 7th out of the 7 Canadian teams, but we'll see what happens. The games are what matter, not what the team looks like on paper. With that being said, though, before we get started here, guys, I just want to wish you all a Happy New Year and also a Merry Christmas. I forgot to wish you guys a Merry Christmas in my 2 videos that I did just after Christmas on the 27th and 28th, I believe, so I don't want anyone to think I'm some kind of a Grinch or anything like that and I hate Christmas, but that's not the case at all. And Happy New Year's, guys, to you. This is my first video of 2021, and let's hope for a much better 2021. So without further ado, let's get started and let's get into what the Sens need to do to make the playoffs. Alright, so my first key is I really think what they really need truly is to stay healthy. If my number one key for them to make the playoffs. The Sens right now, as they're constructed, they're a team that they have one big superstar forward right now in Stützle. I mean, I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but it's looking like he could be a superstar for them. And they have a really good one on the back end in Chabot, and then everyone else is a pretty good player. But they're so young, as I've mentioned so many times, not to beat a dead horse. They are very young, and I feel that if this young team faces a lot of adversity, and they say there's a lot of guys getting injured, and you got to call guys up and stuff, get even more young players into the lineup, especially if some key veterans get injured, that could spell a lot of trouble for the Sens. And I mean, especially if a goaltender gets injured, I mean, they don't have a lot of depth behind Murray and Hoberg. As we know, as of right now, their goaltending system is pretty young and still a bit fragile. But I think Murray coming in will really shore that up. But all that aside, on the injury front, if this team faces a lot of injuries, like I said, I think they're going to be really tough to make the playoffs. My second key for them to make it is Matt Murray and Marcus Hoberg play absolutely outstanding. And it doesn't matter which one of these guys do it, just one of them has to at least take the reins and play absolutely outstanding for this team, because they're really going to need good goaltending. Their defense, while they do have a few veterans back there, they are going to have some youngsters. Chabot still is young. Christian Wolanin's pretty young. He hasn't played very many games just because of the fact that he missed almost all of last season with an injury that he suffered in training camp, as we know. Eric Brandstrom, if he comes up and plays, he's very young. I think Max Lajoie could have a chance at getting into the lineup too, perhaps on the back end. So if you have those guys in there, you're going to have a pretty young D. And when you have a young defense, usually it means some mistakes are bound to happen. Now that could be eliminated with the system the Sens play. If they play strong defensively with the forwards coming back and helping out the D, that's a different story. But with a young defense, still Matt Murray and Marcus Hoberg are going to have to be outstanding in order to give the Sens a chance to make the playoffs. And my third key is that the young players overachieve, and by that I mean guys like Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Thomas Chabot even is still classified in that category. Drake Batherson, Formanton, maybe a guy like Josh Norris comes out of nowhere, has a great camp. He comes in, he scores a bunch of goals, gets a bunch of points for the Sens. Maybe Logan Brown finally shows why the Sens drafted him, I believe 11th overall back in 2016. It's guys like that are going to have to really step up, especially Tkachuk, Stützle up front too. Those guys are going to have to really step up offensively to really give this Sens team a chance to make the playoffs. So the young players are going to have to overachieve, I believe, personally, for them to make the playoffs here in 2021. Now, key number 4, this is a bit of a controversial one just because, okay, well, other teams are going to need to struggle or have injuries. And before I get into this one, don't get me wrong, I am in no way wishing injuries on any of those other 6 teams. I do not want to see anyone get injured or anything like that. I'm just telling you what probably would need to happen for the Sens to make the playoffs. Hopefully they'll just struggle instead. Some of the teams that are expected to do well, and the Sens maybe overachieve a little bit with this young group and get themselves back into the playoff picture. But in no way am I wishing injuries on anyone, as I mentioned earlier. With the Ottawa Senators, though, that probably is going to need to happen. They're going to need some help from those teams in their division. If a team like Winnipeg struggles, if Hellebuck's not himself. The Winnipeg Jets are a perfect example of a team who I think could fall out that's expected to be in, because if Connor Hellebuck struggles in any way, that team's just not the same despite all their high-end offense up front. They do have some struggles on the defensive side of the game. There are other teams too. I mean, if Carey Price struggles or gets injured, Montreal could be in big trouble, and that could open the door for the Ottawa Senators to make it going forward. And last but not least, my final key number 5 for the Ottawa Senators to make the playoffs. It's one that I like to talk about a lot, is they play terrific team defense. And when I say good team defense, we all know, you as a hockey fan knows this, all 5 guys are playing well defensively. It's not just put on the defense, the 2 guys on the defense that are pegged as defensemen on the ice. It's all 5 working together as a unit, playing good cohesively together, getting the pucks out quickly, not spending too much time in your own end. And it starts 200 feet away, having a good aggressive forecheck too. I believe under DJ Smith's system they can forecheck pretty aggressively, so that could help them really cause a lot of turnovers in the other team's zone. And the more you're in the other team's zone, that's been said many times before by broadcasters, hockey players alike, I mean, your best defense is offense. So if you're in the other team's zone, you're spending less time in your own end. And the Sens do need to learn better how to defend in their own end. Their penalty killing's got to get better too. If all those come together, I think they could give themselves a really good shot at making the playoffs. But guys, that's just my keys and what I think they need, what needs to happen to make the playoffs. Comment down below what you guys think the Sens need to do to make it, what their best, maybe you have 5 keys that you think. Tell me what differences you would make on your 5. What do you think they need to do to make the playoffs? These are what I think needs to happen in order for them to make the playoffs. A little bit of help from other teams. Them playing good team defense, I think, is really critical. The young players overachieving. Of course, they're going to have to get good goaltending. There's no question about that. Matt Murray and Marcus Hogberg are probably going to have to be pretty darn good on most nights, especially with them being a young team. They could be in for some nights where they're playing some really skilled teams like Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and these teams could really have the puck a lot, and the goaltending's going to have to be there to give this young team some confidence. So like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe and share this video. I'm excited to make more content for you guys going forward as the season's right upon us here, starting on January 13th. And I'll talk to you guys again soon.